You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm joined now by business consultant Tony Ennis. Good morning, Tony. You might start by telling me a bit about your own background, please.
I was born in Wexford and I've lived here most of my life, I think. Spent some time overseas in the States and some time in the UK. Was educated here in Wexford and got involved in business, worked for a number of local companies, and then in 1988 got involved in business consultancy.
Tell me, what does that entail?
Well, business consultancy is probably broken into a number of parts. I suppose you're expected to be part expert, part psychologist, maybe a little bit. You're supposed to have advice and guidance for people to help them get to where they want to go in business.
So you've been doing that now at this stage for over 20 years. Tell me, typically, what are the type of clients that you deal with?
Well, typically it ranges across a number of categories. A lot of my work, about 80% of it, would be for businesses through state agencies. And then about 20% would be for private clients. And the sectors would range from manufacturing through to services, through to tourism, and then retail and some other ancillary businesses as well.
I know under the business consultancy heading you're involved in feasibility studies, business plans and mentoring. Tell me more about each of them, please.
Okay. If we take them probably in the sequence that they come, feasibilities is typically the first stage involved, and that's to check out, as it says on the tin, whether a particular business project is likely to be feasible or not. So the main foundation on that one, Karl, would be market research. And typically what you do in a feasibility study is that you look at the market that somebody's trying to get involved in and you see whether there's any space or opportunity there for them to develop their own business idea in it. Now that might be in a general market or in a niche market, and you typically have a look at things like the competition that's out there, what they currently offer, what the pricing structures are, whether there's any barriers to entry to get involved, that type of work. And then out of that, assuming that that assessment or that work, when it's done, when you've done an assessment on it, still looks promising, then you try to develop a business model for the business to actually make it happen in the real world.
Am I right by saying that the enterprise boards and the leader groups now require feasibility studies as a prerequisite before giving out any money through grant aid?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more common, Karl. What they do typically is, because the grant aid is government money and because there's pressure on budgets at the moment, what typically they do is they expect the feasibility study to be done to prove the viability of it before the board or the local development company or whichever agency it is then puts larger amounts of money in terms of maybe capital grants or detailed training and that type of stuff.
Really, so the purpose of a feasibility study is to establish the product market fit for it?
Absolutely. That's it in a nutshell.
I know that you have a fairly close alliance with Fáilte Ireland. Tell me more about that.
One of the agencies that I work with is in the tourism sector, and the lead agency there would be Fáilte Ireland in Ireland. And typically their role is to support the industry, to support anybody involved in tourism development, to upgrade their skills or to examine business propositions, or maybe to look at how they can change their business for the better given the particular climate that we currently find ourselves in. So Fáilte Ireland would work all over the country. They work through the regional offices here in Wexford. We're part of the Southeast region, which is headed up by Gary Breen and his team down in Waterford. And they typically look to develop the tourism product, both from a local and a regional level, and then that would feed into the national level as well.
I know that Wexford itself has a very high proportion of businesses involved in the tourism sector. How's that sector doing at this moment in time across County Wexford?
Well, Karl, like all business sectors, I suppose at the moment, the one word that would best describe it would be challenging. But particularly in relation to tourism, because of its importance to County Wexford, over the last 5 years, I would say specifically, a huge amount of resources have gone in to develop the tourism product. So that's based on the concept of Fáilte Ireland have a principle that says travel, stay, do something and play. And typically what that breaks down is, how easy is it to get to Wexford? in terms of accommodation, whether you're in a 5-star hotel or whether whatever the accommodation availability is or that you might be looking for, the activity bit, which is the bit in the middle, that's what do you do when you get here, and then the play bit is what do you do when you finish doing that. So that might be what's the entertainment like, what's the food like. So it's a total package, and if you think about it, when you or I go on holiday, that's exactly what we do. We look for the whole package. And in the last 5 years, a lot of effort has been put into County Wexford, which is now showing signs of being a very good integrated product, is that a lot of the individual providers are coming together and they're developing overall packages. For example, here in Wexford, the Visit Wexford initiative would be a particularly good one, where a lot of tourism providers have got involved and worked together to make Wexford and the Southeast a lot more attractive for the domestic visitor on the island of Ireland and also the overseas visitor.
Tell me, Tony, what do you think are the key challenges being encountered by business out there today across the county?
Well, I think the obvious one is the overall economic climate, which is putting a squeeze on most people's businesses' operations. I think probably getting paid is one of the key things at the moment. I think it's very challenging to get bank finance at the moment. And I know that's being addressed, but it still is the issue on the ground. And then in terms of, remember, the Celtic Tiger is now gone. That era is past. A lot of people who operated a business in that era operated a particular business model. And the need to change and evolve their business and the way they do business and how they do business. Maybe to get back more to the basics that maybe we shouldn't have forgotten, in that business at its core is not a very complicated equation. It literally is you find something that somebody wants to buy and you sell it to them at an amount of money that's less than what it is that it costs you to produce it. And at the end of the day, whatever is left is then profit. And there's a lot of businesses that are having to change and evolve and get back to those basic principles and then build forward on their business again.
You did mention there about the importance of businesses having to adapt in the current economic climate. Do you find, number one, that businesses are adapting fast enough? And number two, that they have the skill set within their business to know how to adapt? Okay,
I think, Karl, that when 2008 happened and the recession started, I think people, because of the speed of all of that at that time, I think a lot of people got caught on the hop, would be a phrase. In other words, that it took them a while to actually understand what was happening in their marketplace. I think that phase has now finished, and I think people are now recognizing what's always been the case in business, that change and evolution are actually part of everybody's business, and that what you have to do is that you have to constantly be open and be positive about facing that change and looking for the new opportunity. I think the skill sets are coming back. I think they were there when I set up my business in 1988. It was a recession, and I think people had those skills at that point. I think perhaps we lost them during the Celtic Tiger era, but I think now people are starting to come back and those skill sets are starting to be built up again, which is actually very positive for the future.
I know that through your involvement with Wexford County Enterprise Board that you're dealing with a lot of start-up businesses. What advice would you give to somebody thinking of starting a business in County Wexford today?
Well, I'd say the first thing is, again, going back to the basics, is think about what it is you're going or you're planning to offer, and ask yourself who the buyer of that will be and where that buyer is. Once you have that kind of clear in your head, then I'd say go and talk to the Enterprise Board or go and talk to Wexford Local Development and see what help and support they can give you. And there's lots of it there to help you maybe tease out that idea further. So inform yourself, become knowledgeable about operating a business. I often explain it to people that if I work for somebody and I'm a plumber, then what I have to be is a good plumber. And at 5 o'clock in the evening or whatever time I'm finished, then that's what I have to do to earn my wages. If I'm self-employed as a plumber, I obviously have to do that or have that capability in the business. But I suddenly have a whole new set of skills that I have to learn. I have to learn how to market and how to sell. I have to learn how to collect money. I have to learn how, on the financial side, how to finance a business and how to generate a profit out of it. So what I'd say is inform yourself. Don't let anybody tell you that it's impossible, because nobody has the right to tell you that. What you will have to have is huge determination and a positive outlook. And if you have those two things, then you give yourself a much better chance of succeeding. Does everybody who set up a business succeed in that? Well, the answer is no, but that's never been the case. But for those people who are focused and who are determined and who are optimistic and who have good people skills, I often say in business that how you deal with people and how you deal with money has a huge impact on how successful you'll be. And I think both of those skills are required.
For many years you've been delivering Start Your Own Business courses for Wexford County Enterprise Board. Tell me about the range of people that attend those courses, age profile, type of business ideas that they've had over the years and that.
Okay, it's a very wide collection of people who go on the courses. You could probably split them into three main categories. You have people who have actually set up a business, and typically that will be within the last year, and they've suddenly discovered that they need to acquire more knowledge and skills in some of the surround areas. So that might be taxation or marketing or sales or finance. The second group of people will be people who have definite plans to start a business. They've already checked it out and they know that within the next 6 months or 9 months they're going to actually do it. And the third group of people then would be people who maybe want to consider the idea of operating a business, they're not sure what's involved, and they go on the 10-week program, which is typically 3 hours a week for 10 weeks. So it's 30 hours of their investment in their time to check out whether operating their own business is for them. In terms of the age profile, literally everything, Karl, from 18 to 70. And the type of businesses that are involved, a lot of them, particularly in County Wexford, would be small service businesses, but there would be, over the years on the programs, there have been manufacturing companies, there have been internationally traded services companies, so really the full spectrum of business activity are represented.
And from your own experience over the last 20 years, both delivering training programs to the business community along with providing mentoring, what specific skill set do you think is lacking out there in business people today?
Well, I think the focus on, as I said earlier on, the focus on the people skills. So business in Ireland is no different than business internationally. And a lot of business is done where trust and a personal relationship is built up. So I think your ability to be able to deal with it, if you think about it, you have to go in perhaps to a financial institution and you have to sell them on a business idea. There's people skills involved there. You have to deal with customers. Remember, they're the only reason ever that you're going to stay in business. So you have to develop relationships with them and make sure that they're happy with whatever it is you're offering. Typically, if your business involves staff, the same type of people skills. And the money bit, I think, is probably the area that most people just need to focus on that little bit more. Like literally, do you have a sales target this month? Do you know out of that sales target what your profit expectations are? And just having a target when you actually operate that month, do you then do the look back? Do you go, okay, well, I set the target at €5,000. Now, how did I actually do? Did I sell €8,000? Fantastic. Or is it 3,800, in which case it's off target? And if it's off target, why is it off target? Dealing with your cash flow, just the ability to be able to survive, to have enough money to pay your bills, to be able to continue in business. Those type of skills on the financial side are things that are crucial if you want to survive and prosper in business today.
Tony, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not approached by a business person across the county that's telling me that they're involved in very, very price competitive sectors, that they feel the only way that they can compete is on price. What are your thoughts on that?
I hear the same things, Karl, and I probably give the same advice that you do, and my opinion is probably no different than yours. My opinion is that's not so. And I think it's a trap that people fall too easily into. When I'm approaching somebody says that, I describe that as a race to the bottom. Like, where do you stop? If that's your policy in a business, where do you actually stop? Do you drop your price and then your competitor drops their price? Now you've to drop your price again. The only thing that I find in a race to the bottom is that there's mud at the end and you get stuck in it. So that's not a good place to be. What I say to people is, look for the reasons to give people confidence that they should buy from you that isn't centered on price. So what is it about your offering? What is it about your product or service that makes it different from your competition? And don't fall into the trap that has to be only on price. Price obviously is part of the mix, but it's a very small percentage of an overall mix. Less than 20%, the research would tell you. So if the research is right, which it is, then the challenge is for you to find a reason. Is it that you're technically better? Is it that your product provides a better solution to somebody? Is it as simple as that you guarantee you'll be there next Monday morning to start the job? What actually is going to make the difference between you and your competitor? And the easiest way sometimes of finding that out is if you ask the customer what's important to them. They'll tell you very quickly. Now, price will be somewhere in, if they list off 5, price may well be in there, but it's only one component of the 5. So you concentrate on the other 4. And if you're in a market, which very few people are, but if you're in a market where the only determination is price and that's going south, then look for other markets. But that's typically, in the majority of the cases, that's not the case. What you have to do is to concentrate on the quality of what you provide and what it does for the customer. Sometimes I'm asked to talk at business seminars, and one of the key points I always try to get, stop looking at your business from your eyes, because it's inclined to blinker people. You need to look at your business and what you're doing from your customer's eyes. If you do that, then and deliver on what you see. So literally what you need to do is to ask your customers what's important. You need to deliver what's important to them, and suddenly you'll find price is a much smaller component in their decision.
Tony, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the business climate, let's say, for the next 3 years?
I'd always be an optimistic person, Karl. And anybody who knows me would know that would be true. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because as a country and as business people, we've all taken the tsunami of the last 3 years. And we're still here. So the reality, as I mentioned earlier, is we all have to work a little bit harder. We all have to operate our business smarter. But that's all very positive. This recession, like every other recession, will go away. The good companies, the ones who concentrate on the customer and everything we've spoken about this morning, those businesses will prosper. And putting the right foundation in, which has started, and a lot of businesses are doing it, is going to yield benefits over the next 3 years. So I'd be very optimistic in terms of the general business climate in Ireland. Each business by itself needs to concentrate on its own market. Look for the opportunities. Grow the business, grow the markets, offer value for money. And value for money is what it's about. Value for money is not, this refers back to something we spoke about earlier, is not the cheapest. It never is the cheapest. Value for money is what's in it. There's an equation that says value for money is the benefit to the customer minus the cost to the customer. And that's what, so I'd be very optimistic, but I'd also be realistic and say everybody in the business community needs to put the work in so that we're in a good position to take advantage of the bounce, which absolutely will come.
Well, Tony, it's certainly been a very insightful interview. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for dropping by this morning, and wish you continued success with Ennis Co Business Consultants.
You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.